Here's what they don't tell you about true love: sometimes, even love isn't enough to defeat death. And one of the oldest stories ever told proves it in the most heartbreaking way possible. This is the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, a man whose music could move nature itself, a journey into the underworld, and one simple rule that changed everything. And by the end, you'll understand why people have been telling this story for more than 2,000 years. So let's start with Orpheus. Orpheus wasn't the kind of hero who carried a sword or defeated monsters with brute strength. His power was music. He played a lyre, an ancient stringed instrument, and according to the legends, his music was so extraordinary that animals gathered around him, trees seemed to bend toward his songs, and even the natural world appeared to stop and listen. Then he met Eurydice. She was beautiful, and the two fell deeply in love. They were married, and it should have been the beginning of a life together. Instead, tragedy came almost immediately. Not long after their wedding, Eurydice was walking outdoors when she was bitten by a venomous snake. She died. And just like that, Orpheus lost the person he loved most. But Orpheus couldn't accept it. So he decided to do something almost no one in mythology would dare attempt. He would go into the underworld itself and bring Eurydice back. Think about that. He wasn't going to ask a king for mercy. He wasn't going to search some distant land. He was walking into the realm of the dead, the domain of Hades and Persephone, hoping to persuade the rulers of the dead to give his wife back. Orpheus entered the darkness carrying nothing but his lyre. And his music became his weapon. The legends say that even the creatures of the underworld were affected by it. Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed guardian of the underworld, was calmed by his music. Orpheus kept going until he finally stood before Hades and Persephone. Then he played. He didn't fight. He didn't threaten. He sang about Eurydice. He sang about love, grief, and how cruel it was that she had been taken so young. His music moved the powers of the underworld, and they agreed to release Eurydice. But there was one condition. Orpheus had to walk out of the underworld with Eurydice following behind him. And he could not turn around to look at her. Not once. Not until they had both reached the world of the living. If he looked back too soon, Eurydice would be lost forever. It sounds easy. Just keep walking. But imagine being Orpheus. You're walking through the darkness toward the light. You know Eurydice is behind you. You can hear her footsteps. But you can't look. You can't know for certain whether she's really there. Every step brings you closer to freedom. And every step gives doubt another chance to grow. What if the gods tricked you? What if she's falling behind? What if she's already gone? Orpheus kept walking. The light of the surface was getting closer. He was almost there. And then, just before they were safely out, he turned around. He saw Eurydice. For one moment, he had her again. And then she was gone. The condition had been broken. Eurydice was pulled back into the underworld, and this time Orpheus couldn't bring her back. He had reached the end. He had defeated death itself for a moment. And then, at the very last second, doubt cost him everything. That's what makes this myth so painful. Orpheus didn't lose Eurydice because he didn't love her enough. He lost her because he loved her so much that he couldn't bear not knowing whether she was really behind him. And that's why this story has survived for thousands of years. Because beneath all the gods, monsters, and magic, it's asking a question that still feels painfully human. How much uncertainty can love endure? How much faith can you have when you can't see the person you love? And if you had one chance to get them back from death, would you be able to keep walking without looking back? Orpheus couldn't. And Eurydice disappeared forever. Maybe that's why this isn't really a story about defeating death. It's a story about trust. About doubt. And about how sometimes, the thing we do because we love someone can be the very thing that makes us lose them. And perhaps that's why, more than 2,000 years later, we're still telling the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Because the cruelest part isn't that death one. It's that, for one brief moment, Orpheus had already won. And then he looked back. If this story hit you, the next one goes even deeper into the darker side of mythology. Subscribe so you don't miss it.